right. So we got a few bangers this week, some new ones. Uh, Corey Cunningham passed away on Saturday. He was found dead at 28 in his Clifton, New Jersey home. In case you don't remember, because it's been a second since he's played, Cunningham was drafted by the Cardinals in 2018, and he was a defensive lineman that played for the Giants last in the 2022-2023 season. So Corey's family was unable to reach him. They were concerned, so they called the police, and the police found him passed away, and there is currently no sign of foul play. So we will be following this, but rest in peace, Corey Cunningham, and we are thinking of his family right now. And it's tragically young. It's almost unbelievable how young it would be to lose a family member. So. Changing lanes quite quickly, this is the most wild story in Florida, of course, that I've heard in a minute that had anything to do with sports. So, a pair of bodybuilders, in Miami were arrested, last Monday, for pointing a firearm at a daycare. So the couple were at the Crystal Plaza shopping center in Miami posing for bodybuilding pictures. These photos included the male holding a loaded rifle while kneeling in a firing position, pointing at the door of a daycare, according to the police when they arrived. The woman swears that they did not know that there was a daycare nearby. They were just sort of had a loaded firearm in a random parking lot. The police were called by a concerned parent picking up their kid, and the couple has been charged with felony charges of aggravated assault with a firearm and exhibiting a firearm on school property. Tank Dell. So Dell was shot at a Florida nightclub last weekend. He was an innocent bystander of a dispute that uninvolved. So a 16-year-old who was at the same club saw that there was a fight, and then he, for some reason, shot a firearm into the fight. And Tank Dell was just like in that vicinity at the time, and wrong place, wrong time kind of scenario. And he hit the 16-year-old hit 10 people, shooting into the dispute. Many of which who weren't involved, like Dell. He experienced minor injuries, but he left the hospital like the same day, so it wasn't too serious. I think one police officer said that, or somebody in law enforcement said that most of the injuries were like lower extremities and not serious. Nobody was killed, and nobody was like seriously injured or anything like that. So thank goodness for that. You can read more about this case on my article on Tank Dell on the forkball as well. It's a good one. I highly suggest it. I don't know if y'all heard about this one, but there's a Penske scandal right now. So the IndyCar Penske scandal is blowing up. Last week, IndyCar disqualified Joseph Newgarden's first place victory and Scott McLaughlin's third place in March's open seasoning race, because they realized that Team Penske, IndyCar realized that Team Penske used a push to pass software that were used by both drivers during restarts. So Newgarden argued that it's all a misunderstanding, and that they were sure that a rule change had occurred, allowing the extra boost of horsepower. But then the Team Penske says that there's an error in transferring software systems, which calls into question, like, Newgarden says, we were sure it was okay, and then his team tries to say that they knew that it wasn't, but it was or it was an issue with the software. So which one was it? And other people who are much more familiar with IndyCar and racing and things like that say it's one of the cases where Penske's either unethical or alarmingly incompetent, like a lot of the police forces that we talk about in true crime segments. um, as in, if they didn't know that it was a problem or it was a mix-up of software, it was so incompetent that you need to be worried. Um, especially for a organization that has a reputation that Penske does. So we'll be following it. Manchester United soccer fans, not to be mistaken of Manchester City fans, have really outdone themselves with this one. So the newest allegation is that there's been a long-term, persistent issue of fans pretending that they're disabled at away games to get seats. So fans have been pretending to need a wheelchair so they can sit at the dedicated wheelchair spaces at the games. And apparently it's been chronic and long lasting. So I'm like, that's a new low. Just while Bashad Breland, he was on our list for a while and he just had gotten himself off of it when he worked his way back on the roster. The 31-year-old was arrested on Saturday after assaulting police officers who found a myriad of drugs, allegedly Schmeed, shrooms, some motion sickness medicine I couldn't pronounce, and opioids. So, multiple firearms were also found. He is facing, in result, he's facing felony drug charges, 2 charges of assaulting government officials, 1 charge of misdemeanor, resisting arrest, and 2 misdemeanors of injury to personal property that appeared to be on the law officials. So, his case from last August is still pending. If y'all don't remember that one, last year he had a stolen vehicle, 8 firearms in it, 62 grams of suspected shrooms, and 5 pounds of schmeed. So, looks like he's back on our list again. We'll be following this one too. I don't know if y'all saw this. I didn't notice it right in the start, but Nikola Jokic, his older brother, who has the name I won't try to pronounce either, appears to allegedly have pushed people out of the way in game 2 of the Nuggets playing the Lakers of the playoffs. His older brother was pushing people out of the way to reach a male fan in the stands, who he then appeared to throw a punch at on camera. And then you can see Nicola's other brother and his wife grabbing at the brother, who was trying to go for the fan in an attempt to pull him back. And right now the Denver police and the NBA are looking into the incident. Tiger Woods. This is literally wild to me. Okay, so ex-tabloid David Pecker has been laying out numerous celebrities' business at Ronald Rump's hush money trial. And just to be clear, we can't say anyone's names that are involved with future events happening this November. So that's why I used a name that we would all recognize that isn't that name. Y'all know what I mean. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, the former National Enquirer big man on campus testified in court last Thursday about his catch and kill operations. One of his big examples apparently was when Schwarzenegger ran for office in 2003 in Cali. Over 30 women came forward about SA like related things. And Pecker spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy up negative press on the Terminator while working with him on a magazine deal. So what he did is Pecker bought negative stories and published them for decades on like a ton of people. Never published them. So he would buy the stories from other like reporters or websites or whatever, and then he just wouldn't publish them. So an example in the sports world was Tiger Woods. Apparently there was somebody caught him with a woman in a parking lot in 2007, and that was 3 years before the couple divorced. Him and his wife had their crazy, a very eventful divorce. And so that was before people even knew about all of his little shenanigans. So David Pecker blackmailed, if what he's testifying to is true, Woods into appearing on the cover of Men's Fitness in exchange for buying the photos and then not publishing anything. So those photos and stories remain hidden, and we are finding out lots of hot goss. So if you want to know more about like Mike Wahlberg and a few other people, definitely read the articles on that. But Tiger was a bad boy before we even knew about it, and David Pecker knew, but he go find he's on the Men's Fitness cover in probably 2007. So that's, I guess, all the evidence you need. Wild. All right, so snooker. So last year, bans were handed out to 10 Chinese players, snooker players, for fixing and betting games or matches or whatever they call them. It was the worst incidence of corruption in snooker ever. And so in result, China's #1 snooker player, Ding Junhui, who had no connection to that scandal, talked about the ban this past Wednesday, like just a few days ago. So in responding to that, he suggests that there should be a better balance between practice and education. And he was quoted as saying, "In China, they love to see players grow up so quick. They want to see them at 20 years old winning everything, and it's too much pressure for the young guys. People always ask me what to suggest, and I say, just be happy." Um, End quote. And he doesn't advocate for young people just practicing all day and wants young people to learn from those 10. In other words, kids, go touch grass. Parents, let your kids go touch grass. I thought that that was some really wholesome advice for snookers, but then also like a lot of these other athletes that we're talking about who are just so young. So right now there's this true crime sports moment happening. So I wanted to point out some of the docs that are coming up. We may be talking about them in the future. We've been talking about the dynasty of it in these segments. But noticeably, the Bronx Zoo 90, Crime, Chaos, and Baseball is coming out this month on the 1990 New York Yankees. And Rich and Shameless is also coming back this month to discuss hot topics like Brett Favre and the money and Bountygate, along with other spicy MLB and boxing topics. So we'll be keeping up on top of those. But definitely catch Bronx Zoo 90, Crime, Chaos, and Baseball. I think that's going to be on Netflix, but if not, it's going to be on one of the big streaming services. That'll be awesome. Ryan Garcia. So Wednesday, the news dropped that Ryan Garcia tested positive for the performance-enhancing substance Ostarine the day before and the day of his upset win last month against David Honey. And right now, Garcia denies all claims. He's very adamant about that, and there's obviously a lot of heat on him. I guess they just found out the results, even though they took them all the way back then, which I think is odd. But they'll definitely be staying on this one because this is major news in the boxing world. All right, so now we got some updates from some of our well, when something happens on something we've covered, we make sure to follow up. So, Pantsgate may be over, but not for another season. So, Nike, the MLB, all of them are finally admitting that what they were trying for didn't work. Although they're not really taking the blame, it's more so that it almost feels like they're blaming the players for not liking the pants. But anyway, so as of Sunday, we've heard the news that we will be getting new pants, but it'll be no sooner than 2025. So we are still in the midst of Pantsgate, and it's not going to get any easier for the entire rest of the season. There's a pants shortage, folks, and no new pants for anybody yet. I think if they keep tearing like they are, we might be seeing new ones sooner, but we'll just have to wait on that. So, we're getting a little bit more information about how Shohei's money was being used by his interpreter and sort of like the path that it took. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. So Shohei's money was stolen by Muzahara, his interpreter, and then that was funneled to a member of an alleged gambling ring ran by Matthew Bauer, allegedly, who's been under federal authority investigation for a year. Allegedly, Bauer's associate got paid $5 million to cover his losses. Right, so Mizuhara had racked up a huge debt, and then he stole that money to give it to Shohei, and then that was supposed to go to his losses, and then that went to allegedly Bauer's associate. And then that money gets deposited into accounts with different casinos in Las Vegas and Cali, apparently. And then that money was then converted into playing chips that this ring, this alleged ring, would use and then cash out any winnings. That was all good and dandy, except for the ring is struggling as well because they lost nearly $8 million at one of the casinos recently. And so at the same time while Mizahara was funneling the money to them. So I guess it is a problem when your entire business surrounds something that you're addicted to. But I would say that that has to do with a lot of different businesses that we entrepreneurial opportunities that we cover in this segment. So anyway, that's how the funneling went. Fascinating. Another day, another incident in racism in Spain. Wow. Yeah, with soccer. So, Spain's forward, Nico Williams, he made a corner kick, and while he was in there making his kick, he heard shouts of people yelling at him monkey and making monkey noises. He only really mentioned one incident, but his older brother, Inaki Williams, was outspoken with his frustration, probably because he experienced his own racism in his own soccer career, and so now he is in a position where he can at least advocate for his brother and knowing what it was like. And he said they jeered him every time he touched the ball. I can't understand that. They should jeer the aggressors, not the victims. Amen, Inaki. We don't understand it either. So Luis Rubiales in court, Rubiales was testifying this last week in a corruption probe in his time in charge with the Spanish Federation soccer situation. He said he has the most interest in resolving this out of everybody, and he's adamant that no money was received irregularly. So that means almost certainly that money was received regularly. It's kind of hard to keep track of, but Luis Rubiales is currently facing multiple situations. Of course, the kids heard across the world where he's facing charges for that. But then also for possibly misappropriating funds or like irregular funds for the Spanish Federation Soccer League, or I think that's what it's called. And so they're currently he had his home looked into over that, and they've been like auditing everything and going into tons of people's homes, and it's a big case. So he's in two of those. So we talked a long time ago about an English Premier player who had a Schmeat factory, like a gang allegedly run a Schmeat factory from his house while he was gone, traveling around playing soccer. So I looked into this again, and it's fascinating. Luke Foster is not an English Premier League player. However, he is a retired soccer player, a lower level English player. A level, so they have levels, and he's in a lower level, like minor league baseball, basically. So the Schmeat factory we covered before is not his, but Foster did grow his own Schmeat factory which netted him 3 years in the Slam Slam. And I'm just like, how common are Schmied factories in Europe, and how does Europe define a factory? So definitely some food for thought, some questions on the mind. Like, how does everybody, is that like a farm? If you have like 3 plants, are you a Schmied factory? Is there a Schmied soccer crossover? I have questions. Um, so a little update on BPJ. We talked last week about how the 5 players who wouldn't compete against BPJ in the shot put competition at her school were banned from future. Well, we talked about the fact that they wouldn't play in the shot put competition, but the news is now that they're banned from future competitions for not playing. And so backing up just a little bit, BPJ is a transgendered young lady who wanted to still be on her her track team. She's 13. And so she actually went to federal court to get the Save the Woman sports rules overturned, at least in her case, in West Virginia. And so she is allowed to remain on her team, but some players last week on her return said we won't play, and so now they're banned from playing at all. Um, my thought, of course, is this has ignited a lot of anger from grown-ass adults who didn't take time to look into the science like we did last week and are using a 13-year-old to vent out their misplaced ignorance. So that's what I have to say about that. So Formula One, we are falling apart still, per the usual. So Adrian Newey, the greatest Formula One designer in history, is said he's going to be leaving Red Bull after feeling unsettled over the Horner female employee debacle that we've been discussing for a couple weeks. Um, Rumor has it that Red Bull is just falling apart internally because of Horner, and the kind of back and forth between him and this female employee. So people are leaving, officially leaving now. All right, so Adam Johnson, just as a recap, he got sliced in the neck when Matt Petgrave, there on the left, he got hit, his skate connected with Adam Johnson's neck, and he bled out and died. Adam did. And so they're actually pursuing criminal charges outside of ice hockey, like an actual criminal justice system regarding the incident. And we have found out that Matt Grave has been rebailed again. So in trying to think where it happened, I believe in Europe, they rebailed people a lot, apparently. So he's because we have a kind of a one and then you're done system, but they more so have a more rigid system for how they keep people on bail. And I believe there's a time, I believe you can only be on bail for so long, but that's not really like the responsibility of the person. That's kind of up to like the people with the trial, like to hold them accountable to make it a certain speed or whatever. But either way, he's rebailed again until May 14th. So maybe we'll hear something then. He's been rebailed a lot, and we haven't heard anything for a while. So, Brad Aldrich is really getting hung out to dry with this one. The Hockey Hall of Fame, is a little different than NFL, and they are more. Their accountability level is higher for people who are in the Hall of Fame, for like behavior that happens after they were enshrined. But so they're making the choice to scratch out Aldrich's, or they already did. They scratched out Aldrich's name on the Stanley Cup. They put huge big X's over the letters in his name based on the actual assault allegations. The Blackhawks chairman, Rocky Wirtz, actually requested it. And only one other name has ever been crossed off the Stanley Cup, and it was the father of a player who the father wasn't a coach, he wasn't on a team in any way, he wasn't affiliated. The guy just put his name on there. and so he got removed. But that's it. So that's a pretty serious consequence and quite a display by the sport of hockey. So love to see it. All right, Draymond Green here. Yusuf Nurkic has clearly not let go of his animosity after Green smacked him in the face earlier on the season. Uh, which I kind of understand, because Nurkic said he needed help with his issues, and then he trolled him when the Warriors were eliminated in the play-in tournament. So he trolled him on Twitter when he posted the famous Looney Tunes slogan and said, "That's all, folks." Draymond addressed the tweets when the Suns were booted from the playoffs on his podcast, the Draymond Green Show, and he had this quote that I thought was I don't know. It was ouch, you know? So ironically, the tweet that may have spoiled faster was from the Big Softy. So that's his name for Yusuf Nurkic. Big Softy wanted to tweet after we lost and wanted to post a picture. That tweet spoiled so fast, like that spoiled milk. Yeah, that is all, folks. You got to be really careful when you're not successful and you try to take jabs at people, because when you really don't have control of your own success, when you don't play a large enough role in your team's success, when you can't really affect the outcome of the game, it is really tough to take jabs at people because you got a jab and then you can't affect what your end result is. So Draymond Green took about 100 words to roast Yusuf Nurkic, and this is definitely a Twitter battle I can get behind, or a social media battle. Brendan Paul, P. Diddy's alleged drug mule and former collegiate basketball player, he pled not guilty to felony coke possession last week. Another felony possession charge he had was dropped off, but he also said, "I didn't have the coke," so we will follow P. Diddy's alleged drug mule because it's fascinating. All right. Jason Kelsey, will I ever use a new photo? I don't know, but I'm surprised he was able to do his job so long when it looks like he wasn't going to be able to get up out of this position. So, um, this whole chili in the ring thing has still continued on. So on April 24th on the Brothers podcast, what is it? Newer heights, higher heights? I don't know. Anyway, Travis said, "You don't lose it, somebody steals it," sort of indicating that somebody took Jason Kelsey's ring. Somebody ran with this on social media saying Jason had said somebody stole it, even though it was clearly Travis. And then Jason went on Higher Heights, whatever it is, podcast, and confirmed on Tuesday that he does not believe that someone stole the ring. It's like, think before you write, people. Okay, there's a responsibility that comes with reporting. Anyways, Rashi Rice. So Ian Rappaport is possibly alluding to the fact that Rice may not be suspended at all in 2024. And this is because Godell said the NFL is waiting for the legal process to finish up, and then the NFL will act. And the Kansas City Chiefs have already said that they do not plan on changing his status in any way, according to Clark Hunt, who said he was disappointed, of course. But that his status wouldn't change. And the reason I believe Ian Rappaport is saying he won't be facing any suspensions in 2024 is because if the NFL waits for the legal stuff to work out, that'll take longer than 2024, and he'll probably have suspensions after that. So it's more so right now. He's probably going to be fine for this season. And Rice is currently facing a second lawsuit so far in result of the accident, and more could be coming. That was my question when I heard about the first lawsuit coming out. How many? Because 6 cars were involved, so it's like there's a lot of room for a lot of lawsuits, and we're currently on our second, so we will be counting. Blaze Taylor here. Taylor was released from jail last Friday after posting his $2.5 million bond to allegedly poison somebody else. Allegedly. I have questions about this bond, but anyway, nobody asked me. In case y'all forgot, Blaze Taylor is the one who's being currently charged with allegedly poisoning his the mother of his soon to be born child, because he didn't want that. And so that's what he's currently being charged with, is poisoning her and the baby allegedly. And so that's what he's getting released from bond from, and I am definitely following this case and we'll keep you updated. So talking about the parade shooting, once again, I just posted a photo of KC this time because posting victims like running for their lives is kind of morbid week in, week out. So like a lot of the photos we had on a slideshow before was photos of the event, but this time, since it's really a KC wide issue, we'll just make it KC. As of Tuesday, Jackson County judge is hearing the case of the Family Justice Center in KC on whether or not one of the underage teens, 16-year-old AM, they go by their initials and they're under 18, will stand trial as an adult or not. There is footage of AM running away from the scene during the shooting at the parade, where Lindell Mays allegedly fired the first shots. So AM started running when he heard the shots, but then he turned around and he fired at Mays, at the person who was allegedly the first one to fire the shots. So the defense is arguing that AM should not be punished for the more severe and damaging actions of nearby adults, i.e. the person who started the whole thing, and also the people who continued it. But the idea is, are we holding him accountable as the adults in this scenario for shooting? I don't think that he was that it's believed that his the bullets from his firearm severely injured anyone or had anything to do with the casualty, the one person who passed away. But that's what I'm getting from the charges, but I'm not sure about that. But yeah. So again, the defense is arguing that AM should not be punished for the more severe and damaging actions of nearby adults, which is the way our justice system works. And so the counter argument is that AM is unruly in juvie, with 10 incidents since being detected in February, including a described escape plan, and that juvie is not a place for someone who has charges and behaviors like AM. So we'll be following that. Britt Reed, now this is maybe something that other people knew, but I didn't. So nepotism is back at it because Casey sweetly has decided to pay for lifelong good health insurance and other expenses that will provide financial stability for the little girl, Ariel, 5 at the time of the incident, that experienced significant health problems after Reed drunk drove his way into the vehicle that she was in at 84 miles per hour. So he hit the 2 stop cars, one of which Ariel was in, at 84 miles per hour, and this wasn't his first incident. So yeah, it was nice of Casey to do that. It's definitely a case of because of who his father is, and the family is still pretty adamant that like she's struggling a lot, but it is nice that they did that. But yeah, anyway. Dak Prescott. So a Collins County judge will have the opportunity to decide whether Prescott's lawsuit against a woman for extortion will be dismissed or not, coming up shortly. Prescott countersued the woman who filed a civil suit accusing Dak of SA that we've been talking about recently. Her civil suit was recently dropped without prejudice, meaning she could refile later in the same county. But he countersued her, and now we'll be finding out if that got dropped or not. So the lawsuit carousel. It is Dak Prescott. Okay, so Kayshawn Butte. Kayshawn and rapper Tusi traded words on Sauce Gardner, the new jet, his Twitch's live stream. Well, look, Sauce was just trying to play a video game on Twitch. He invited other people, and then things got spicy. So Tusi came for really, I think he lost a game, or his team lost against Kayshawn's team and he was mad or something, but he came for Kayshawn for no reason, the rapper, saying, "Bitch, you about to go to jail. Fuck are you talking about? You a scammer. How the fuck did you get into the NFL, scammer?" And tried to bet on himself. Sorry ass N. I bet you bet all unders because you sorry as fuck. And I hope he's not asking how a scammer got into the NFL, because maybe he has a misconception about conduct. um, but if he's just asking because he thinks he doesn't have enough talent, then that's another thing. So Kayshawn really maintained a lot of poise, saying, "Bro, you sitting here speaking on a conversation you know nothing about. I don't owe nobody no." So I think he was about to say nobody nothing, but we got the idea. So then Tuesday came from again saying, "You're lucky they let you put a jersey on, go play with somebody else." And apparently the two men continued to go at it before both of them ended up leaving the stream. And I'm just like, Tusi didn't have to go there in the first place. Like, just leave this man alone. Okay, because he's got Louisiana after him, and that's a state you don't really want after you. So just like go away. Why does Von Miller have a cute little chick and a rabbit as his picture? The rabbit was just extra cute sauce, but the chicken is because Miller just cut the ribbon on a new poultry plant in Elgin, Texas. Greener pastures chicken with no grass in sight in the picture. It is the first USDA organic poultry processing facility in Texas. This has been a long time dream for Vaughn, apparently. Apparently his two passions in life are chicken and football. So Miller says he plans on not overcrowding chickens and he doesn't want them to get sick all the time. And so apparently, and a mention of green grass that wasn't in the cutting ribbon photo. It looked like a warehouse or something. Let's see some of the pastures, Vaughn. Then I'll feel better. But yeah, you got your little poultry business going. So that's another side gig of Von Miller, as the seems he's saying all the right things about ethical farming, but I don't believe, I haven't seen it yet. I'm not like a huge I eat meat and eggs, but animal abuse is still pretty gross, and what we do to chickens in this country is nasty. And so I just want Vaughn to prove it that he's doing things differently if he is, Are you overcrowding chickens so they can't even stand in their own cages that they live in before we kill them? Just let us know. Ayoma and 25 other athletes whose athletic careers are impacted by the sports gambling probe in Iowa are suing the state, or Ohio. So the state said they gambled, but the charges were dismissed because they violated their civil rights during the probe, and so now Ayoma and 25 other people are saying, pay up, because you could have really negatively impacted our career. So speaking of other negatively impacted careers, or not, Sherman was right. He is in fact back at Undisputed, appearing for the first time on Monday, after he had his DUI little incident. And they didn't discuss the DUI at all, which is probably best, because I don't want to see Richard Sherman what he's going to do to Skip Bayless if he didn't follow those rules. So anyway, he's right. He's back like he said he would be. So we'll keep an eye on his case. Antonio Brown, apparently, he retired from the Las Vegas Raiders last week, a team he never actually played for. So figure me that. WNBA star Kelsey Plume and NFL tight end Darren Waller are divorcing. So Antonio had to really get in there. Waller's been honest about a struggle with addiction recently, so Brown thought that insensitivity was the way to go, tweeting, "I'm in Vegas right now, Kelsey Plume. Pull up." So, always there to try to get the recently divorced. Um, so RG3, we got Not RG3. Sorry, man. Sorry. HR3. Okay. Yeah, so Kayshawn Nixon, a current player, NFL player, had the right sentiment for the wrong person on Sunday when he supported misguidedly his former teammate Henry Ruggs via a tweet saying, "Free HR3." And fans are not thrilled. Yeah, like I said, right sentiment, wrong person, wrong time, wrong everything. Okay. And Mel Tucker. Things are getting better, getting worse, not better for Mel. Unsurprisingly, after what he was charged with at Michigan, he and his wife are getting divorced. She filed on April 4th after 24 years of marriage. Now Mel's soon-to-be ex-wife is accusing him of moving money. So last Thursday, a judge granted a restraining order on the couple prohibiting the dissipation of marital assets because she's been saying that apparently, allegedly, Mel is being funny with the couple's money in a bunch of ways. So allegedly, Mel withdrew all the money from 2 retirement accounts and moved that money somewhere she can't access. Also, the couple's line of credit has grown to $1.5 million or over, and his wife said that he withdrew $100K on April 23rd from a joint account, apparently to pay his lawyers, which she says is not a marital expense. So there's money missing, and for someone with the character that we have seen from Mel, I can't say that I'm surprised. And things are just really going downhill for him. But you know, that's how it goes sometimes. So that is what we have for this week. Let us know, like, subscribe, comment, tell us what you're thinking. Is there a case I forgot? Do you have any opinions on the case? Do you think I'm totally wrong on something? Let me know down below. Like I said, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, ding, and if you know, you know. If you don't know, then I haven't fleshed out the second part yet. But I'll see you next week. Okay, bye everybody.